Hello, everybody, and welcome to East Coast Raining Tangerine. I'm here with the reigning tangerine in this kingdom of oranges, gingers, maybe you could say. Scuba Steve. Hello, Steve. How are you?
Hello, Ben. I'm doing well. Going through a little bit of recovery right now, but otherwise, bright and shiny.
Well, we're about to ruin that recovery because I will be asking you some questions that will probe into the very center of your soul. Are you ready?
I love it. Let's go.
Okay, question number one, and I think most people can agree that we can learn a lot about a person from the answer to this question. Steve, what was your favorite food when you were a kid, and do you still eat it now?
Ooh, excellent question. That requires a lot of
Yeah,
thought.
you weren't
Like,
prepared for that, was you, Steve?
no,
You thought
not
this
at
would all be
all.
about Clocktower and shit. Well, none of it's about Clocktower.
I have to. Let me think. I have to. I'm trying to remember my favorite food as a kid, like my legit favorite food. That's tough. That is really tough. Can you break it down? Give me a little age bracket, and I'll tell you what it is.
Okay, sure. Yeah, let's say in that ever so important pre-teen period, 9, 10 years old.
All right, then it would have definitely been a combination of like ding dongs, ho hos, or hostess chocolate cupcakes.
I've got no fucking clue what any of that means.
So,
Ding dongs and ho hos. It just sounds like something out of Willy Wonka or something. What are you talking about?
they're essentially like cream filled chocolate cake, chocolate covered snacky things. That's what I ate a lot of that crap before. I see in the chat, Fearless Dave mentioned Cool Ranch Doritos. That was actually my teenage. I shifted to Cool Ranch Doritos. So, hat nod, Dave.
Your taste became more savory as you aged.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
assuming that you don't eat loads of ding dongs and ho hos now. Then no,
I don't.
nor would I, because you get to an age where it's not as good anymore.
No, I don't think I could stomach them actually. Even like looking at them, I go, ew. But yeah, no, that was the thing. So when I was like single digit kid, I ate as much of that crap as I could. And I'll give you a bonus. In the teen years, it was truck tons of pizza, steak and cheese subs, and mainlining Mountain Dew every day.
Oh,
And
yeah.
no, I don't drink that anymore. I don't drink any soda anymore.
No, you can't, can you? You just get to a point where you just got to go for a pee every 10 minutes when you're drinking that stuff. Oh, well, there we go. Ding dongs and ho hos. So, what would tell me about a time when you felt incredibly inspired? What kind of thing inspires you? Is there something that has inspired you multiple times, be it perhaps a piece of music that you listen to when you're down, or maybe a movie that you watch every year at the same time? What's something that really makes you feel like your best you?
Wow. All right. So that actually narrowed it down. I was gonna say there's so many cool answers that I would love to share. Like in each one of those categories, like there's something, and it's not that I do anymore. But there was a movie for a long time. Actually, two movies for a long time that I watched, like when I was a kid. So my best me. So song wise, like I would say at the time of this recording. Around 4 or 5 years ago, I kind of went on a personal development journey. It involved a lot of things. I don't know if I can say that I was necessarily looking for myself, but I was just looking for the next best version of me. And it was really tough. It was really scary because I was way outside my comfort zone. Like I felt like I was just a different person. Everything, my whole life, just existing was uncomfortable. I was actually there in the UK 8 months during the COVID year. I was stuck there, and everything about my life was foreign. Everything I was doing, the place that I was in, the people that I was with, just absolutely everything. And the one thing I noticed when, I was learning how to speak. And when it came to, like, you start with emceeing because there's a little bit less and it's easier to remember and program and memorize just the short bits you have to say, versus going and speaking for 30, 60, 90 minutes or something like that to deliver the kind of message that's going to empower people. And before I would go on, I would play Best Day of My Life by American authors. And it just got me like in that zone. I would kind of start jumping and like, yes, this is me. I'm feeling it. Like this is it. This is gonna be, and bang, just go out and serve. And it's still to this day like it's when I hear that song. I think you nailed it. It harkens back to the best version of me. When I hear that, what can I do right now to be the best me possible? So that's just one of likely many answers I could give. But for me, that song is a big one. And very quickly, yes, chat, we are doing fan Q&A, so please feel free. Now's the time.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not just going to ask really weird, piercing questions over and over again. So let's take a few from chat. Okay, let's have a look. If you could have any Clocktower character as a profession, what would you pick? And why? I'm going to add "and why" to that question.
Okay, I really want to think about it, but energetically, the first thing went assassin.
Well, there you go. And so if you ever hear that song playing in the background, you know that Steve is gearing up to assassinate you as he feels like his best self. You heard it here first.
Let's see. If I could, that's just like one of those things that could actually apply to real life. I would probably start thinking or leaning towards the more fantastical, or the really fun. So the really fun being the sailor. Could never die theoretically.
I don't think that's what being a sailor is in our world, Steve.
Well, no, but I mean, unless you're drunk, right? And if you're drunk, you're having
that's
fun
actually
anyway.
an interesting dilemma. Yeah, like which one would you rather have as a profession in real life? Which one's ability would you rather have? Those are two different.
Right.
Yeah, I'd be intrigued to know both of those. But we've learned that you want to be a drunk, unkillable, or either too drunk to care that you die. Which actually I think is a pretty good answer.
Yep, that's just what comes to mind. There's obviously lots of fun things, lots of fun rules. Like lycanthrope just sounds awesome. Although I don't want to kill someone every night, so...
I was going to say, I think you've already got the lycanthrope's ability.
Yeah, no, I think that would be really fun. I like Professor would be really cool to bring someone back to life, as long as they were good, right? That's really cool.
That would be cool. But would it be in like... if before you do that, you've got to know if it's like you bring them back and they're exactly as they were, or if it's going to be like a Herbert West Reanimator kind of thing where they're just this shambling, horrific nightmare. Because that's not so good.
No. King. Thank you, Dave. I like that, King. That would be great.
I don't know if I'd want to be a king. I don't think I'd want to be a king. That's a bit much.
You're right. I wouldn't want to be. I would want to be a king from the financial perspective, but nothing else. I wouldn't want to be bear that responsibility and live in that effective prison. Right. I wouldn't want that.
Yeah. It would be nice to be a king of some small place where the monarchy's just a minor celebrity, somewhere like Luxembourg or something. I wouldn't want to be the king of the UK. That looks very... Yeah. Yeah, I wish. Our king is both our head of state and the head of our church.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Did you guys go backwards?
Yeah, tell me about it. Also that some guy could repeatedly get married over and over again 500 years ago. And this is his legacy. Anyway, this isn't about me or England. This is about Steve. So, Steve, we're going to take another fan question from you, I think. Okay. This one's the first one that came through, and I think it's a good one. Would you rather live with 100 cats or 100 ducks?
Ducks.
Yeah. Oh, I would not have picked that. Why did you? Where's your logic? Take us through that decision.
I'm not cleaning 100 boxes of cat litter. That's an awful lot of animals to be responsible for and feed. And ducks are delicious.
So you took the scenic route to the "I'd rather not eat cat." Is that basically what you're saying? Because you see both of those as livestock.
Well, I mean, it's so. To be fair, the con to the ducks was, and also yes, thank you, Final Sight, duck eggs, right? So the ones that you're not eating are making you eggs. It just makes sense. But
Yeah.
if you do live with 100 ducks, they're gonna shit all over everything. So that's a pain in the ass. But I'll take that over. Like the ducks will purposefully diminish over time, whereas the cats unfortunately won't, and are likely to reproduce at an exponential rate. So yeah, ducks is the answer.
Yeah. I mean, I think it depends where you live as well, right? If you live in a small studio apartment in New York, then the ducks are probably the worst choice. Okay, here's a good one for you, Steve. I think you're going to like this one. If you could turn back the time and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell him?
Invest in Bitcoin the moment it becomes available. When
Wow,
it's like
you
1 penny.
It's not relationship advice. It's not like be yourself. It's just right. Listen, that's like in Back to the Future where Biff is like he goes back to his younger self like bet on all these horses.
Yes.
Here, shut up, just take it. I haven't got time for this. That's what you would do.
Is it limited to one thing? I mean, I'm happy to bare my soul.
Let's say that you've got 60 seconds.
Oh, I would be very specific to myself about it, but I would tell me not to get married so young. Not just in general, like I would be specific about it, so that I would understand. So there definitely would be some relationship advice. I would try to give myself some level of awareness that I have now, and I mean more energetically. I would tell myself that I was an empath because I didn't learn that till after I was 40. And it explained a lot of things about life that I didn't understand. And yeah, for sure, I would probably come with the day that Bitcoin hits the market and you can actually buy it, and be like, save all your money, take this job, do this, do that, like pump everything into this.
And buy some shares in Amazon, right?
Oh yeah, Amazon, Google, Coke, so many things. But like, yeah, I mean, there would be as much don't be a douchebag advice as possible, because all money really does is turn the volume up on who you are. And we've seen it time and time again with people that just windfall into money, don't actually plan or earn it or anything like that. And as a young 18-year-old, I would have been one of those douchebags.
Oh. Okay, well, let's have another one from chat. This is a good one. What if someone if someone gifted you a golden Labrador puppy tomorrow on the condition you name it after a Clocktower roll? What do you name them? That's a good question.
All right, so a golden lab or retriever? Doesn't really matter, I guess.
Labrador.
Lab. Okay, so short hair, gold. Have to name it a Clocktower character. What would I name it? Let's see. As tempting as it would be to name the dog Drunk. I think I would name it, because it's catchy, I would name it Vizier, just so I could call it Vizzy.
Nice. Bone Collector in chat is a pretty good answer.
I do like that. That's perfect for a dog, actually.
Yeah, that is perfect. I was thinking Pixie. That's a good name for a dog.
Well, you're right. Like, Bone Collector's great thematically, but no one's going to say, Bone Collector, Bone Collector. Like, no one's going to do that.
You call him BC. Come here, BC.
Right, yeah, you can call him BC for sure.
Oh, brilliant. What do you think is the most powerful townsfolk role when sober? That's an interesting one.
Ooh. Sober as in your information is untainted.
I'm gonna say, imagine you never know that when you're playing though, right? So you can't. But I guess if we talk about overall, which character, when they are consistently sober, can do the most damage to the evil team?
The most damage. See, that's a different question.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll answer both. So the first question,
Yeah.
I would say empath, because you are, you potentially are confirming 2 players right away. If you're a sober empath, and if your information is untainted and you get a 0, you know 2 good players immediately. Or if you get a 2, you know 2 evil players immediately. But do the most damage, I would say philosopher, because you could be anything. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're cold sober and you've got the time to pump the town for information and see where the void is and go, I know what would help. Bang, like, and I've seen a philosopher go. I think it was librarian maybe on day 2, and wow, like second night, first night info is so strong.
Yeah. Yeah, very strong. Yeah, a noble or something like that as well. The double ability on that, yeah, it can be brutal.
Yep.
There's a lot of good answers in chat, but I'm surprised nobody said poppy grower, because poppy grower has an immediate effect, can massively disrupt the evil team because they can't really get together on day 1 to talk strategy, and poisoning it only makes it worse. And I think it's the only good character in the game that I can say that about.
Yeah, I think it's likely because Poppy Grower. I think a lot of people have played Poppy Grower games where they've gotten around it, and probably didn't see it for the power that it actually was. Either the evil team just figured out who each other are, or the the demon or somebody offed, or maybe the town off the Poppy Grower right away. That kind of thing. I think people have seen a lot of mitigation to the Poppy Grower, but I would agree with you. Yeah, it's rough. I hate, like, when you get all excited, like, ooh, red token, and they're like, and that's it. You have no idea your team. I hate that. I really don't like it.
Yep.
But yeah, those are my answers.
So, well, thank you, Steve. Here's a more piercing one for you. What's the best compliment you've ever received?
Ooh. I don't think I can say that on this.
Oh wow! Okay. So, is this why they call you Scuba Steve? Is that...
Let's see. One of the best compliments. I don't really know. I mean, I guess being transparent might actually be a better answer than just coming up with an answer, which is because I would imagine a lot of people have a hard time believing this about me, just because they just see me through either like something like this, but mostly running games or being present in the community and just being a really positive, supportive, empowering kind of guy, like, all the time. And I understand seeing someone through that lens, because I've had people that I've looked up to, even eventual mentors of mine that I established relationships with, that I thought the same thing. And I don't know how we just do this, but we just sort of forget that they're human too. And so it's actually a difficult question for me to answer, because I typically don't let compliments register. Like, I'm very hard on myself, so it's difficult for me to even catch them sometimes, unless someone is just brutally in your face, like, hey, you are the best at whatever. Like, it just something. It would have to be really focusing on it, not a passing sort of thing, and not in an inappropriate for public sort of way. But I don't know. I mean, I think the thing that registers with me the most as far as compliments are they tend to come in the form of feedback. So like a lot of our like Christina and I students from the past, some of them still reach out to this day, and it seems like over the years it gets a little bit more and more heartfelt. But it's not a specific like word or phrase or something that somebody uses, but just them sharing how much you changed their life and how much better they feel because of it, and like the positive things that they're doing. That's the best compliment ever. Like that is like a drug that I can't get enough of. So seeing like doing something to help someone so that they change into who they want to be, but then propagate that and start affecting other people, that's the best. Like it's just the greatest thing that I live for, really.
Oh yeah, and I suppose it's sometimes the best compliments are the ones that aren't spoken, right? The fact that someone's comfortable to be around you, the fact that you see someone having success with something that you've taught them. Those are all, in some ways, compliments. I think we can all agree.
Yeah, friendship is a really great compliment, and I don't use that lightly. Like, I've gone through a lot recently, and having a friend close enough, just as a passing statement, to be like, "What? Like your roof is still not fixed? Oh, bro, I can do that. Like, when you go back to Florida, like I'll just come and I'll teach you how to do it. Like, that's amazing."
Yeah, that is amazing.
And it really is a compliment, just because like someone who's willing to take time out of their life, fly 1,000 miles away from where they live, spend however much time with you, helping you in something that is kind of dire, you know, it means a lot, and it is a huge compliment. And then for me, the challenge is like, okay, now how do I pay that back, right? Like, how do I shower on you that same kind of, you know, like love and affection and compliment and all that? Yeah.
Yeah, well, you just got to break their roof so you can go help them fix it.
All right.
Oh, here's a good one.
If I show up at your house with a sledgehammer, guys, you know what's coming. I'm really your friend. All right. Well, I'm gonna pay a little homage to Ben right now with my own version of a perfect cuppa. So
Here we go.
cheers.
Lovely.
And
Got a lovely
look
brew
at that.
on the go, yeah. So, we're running behind. We're getting behind on fan questions, so let's catch up.
All right.
When not playing Clocktower, are there any other board games you like to play, or perhaps any RPGs?
So I grew up on Dungeons and Dragons, Red Box, AD&D to 3.5. I think just because of the magnitude of how much I played it, that would be my favorite. There's some that I've always wanted to play, a couple that I dabbled in and I really enjoyed. But that's really the one that I spent the most time with and that I enjoyed the most. Yes, Just Jack sessions were epic. So I mean, I there were so many of them, and so many of them that I think of very fondly, that it's that lightning in a bottle I wish I could grab again. It was that much fun, and I would love to do it. I'd much rather play, but you know, back in the day I started DMing just because I wanted to play so bad and didn't have anybody to play with or to run anymore. Board games, I think I actually touched on this once before. My favorite board game of all time is Scotland Yard, as long as I'm Mr. X. And the newest game, we did just talk about this, and I can't remember the name already. Betrayal at House on the Hill.
House on the Hill?
Yeah. That's a great game. I love it. It's fun, and it's challenging, and it's kind of fast, and it's like, you know, you play and then you want to play again because you got time. Like, that's really, really great. I will say also, you didn't ask, but this just popped into my head. So my favorite card game has got to be Cards Against Humanity. I would love to get a group of people together to play that again. horribly, like morally devoid people that can actually enjoy the game.
We should play some Betrayal on Tabletop Simulator at some point.
Let's do it. I actually have my community to thank. I will shout out, thank you, Hungry, for gifting me Tabletop Simulator, which was on my Steam wish list. Just random conversation, and I happened to be there and was like, oh yeah, actually I did want it, and all of a sudden, bang, he sent it to me. So I would love to do that, actually.
Yeah, we should do that. I had the pleasure of meeting the designer of that game at Shut Up and Sit Down Expo in 2019.
Cool.
And at the time, Wizards of the Coast had just released Betrayal at Baldur's Gate, which, for folks who don't know, is essentially a soft sequel that takes place in the city of Baldur's Gate. And instead of like horror movie tropes, there's like one of you's a sorcerer and one of you's a rogue, and you're a D&D party in Baldur's Gate, and something is going on. And I asked him, like, what do you think of that? How did you feel about that? And I was expecting him to kind of trash it, and his response was, I loved it because when I was designing Betrayal at House on the Hill, I couldn't play my own game because I knew all the scenarios, so I literally couldn't play it. But when somebody else made a variation on it, that meant I could enjoy my own game for the first time, which I thought was a really wholesome response.
That is really cool.
That was nice.
And I mean, shout out to you guys over at TPI, right? So like, you guys have managed to create a game that you can play.
Yeah. Very badly. Okay, what else have we got here? What is your favorite smell? That's a good one. You can tell about someone from that, I think.
Wow, my absolute favorite smell. I believe this is a tainted answer because just the other day I was cutting an awful lot of grass and cleaning up the yard, and there is like essentially honeysuckle trees that are growing, and I got a full-on whiff of that, and it was just heavenly. It was so amazing. I was like, this is such a great scent. I could just sit here enjoying this. Yeah, that literally just hit me yesterday, the day before.
That's a really good answer.
But yeah, the fresh cut grass is a really good one. I mean, like I do when I'm done, I'll usually just sit out back with a beverage, and I do enjoy. I mean, there's so much grass, like it's such a great cut. But yeah, that honeysuckle, boy, it's. I mean, I know exactly where the spot is out back next to the woods, where you go stand, and you'll get hit with it. It's also starting to grow up the fence around here, which is really cool. So I'm gonna have like plumes of it all over the place. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
You should come visit.
Here's a good one. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd love to. It'd be nice to get out of the city for a bit, and then across the continent. Here's a good one for you, Steve. If you could have a dinner party, let's say, so good, food, conversation, an evening of enjoyment with any 3 people, living or dead, who would you choose and why?
I assume dead, you mean like not some zombie we've resurrected, right? Like
no, this is this is somehow miraculously you resurrect them in the prime of their life or whatever, and get to have dinner with them.
This is the kind of thing that it would require a tremendous amount of thought for me. There's so many things that I want to know. I would have to gauge, like, all right, what is it that I want to know? I think largely, at least one of those seats would be someone, like something very historic, so way, way, way long time ago, that would have been like a philosopher type, not someone who's locked into the thought process of the time. And what I mean by that is like, 500-ish years ago, everybody knew that the Earth was flat. Well, unfortunately, now those people are showing back up again. And then, like 1,500 years ago-ish, everybody knew that the Earth was the center of the universe. Like, I don't want somebody in that locked-in mindset, something like that. I would be looking for someone who was really a big thinker, ahead of their time. I don't know. I can't think of anyone today, like in the era that we live in right now, that I would really, really, really want to sit with. I think it would all be people from the past.
Well, I mean, to be fair, if the question is, You can have any three people. Now, you can either pick people who are alive now who you can have dinner with tomorrow, or you can resurrect three historical figures. I feel like you would be kind of almost abusing that power if it was like, well, I'll have dinner with Stephen Fry and Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think. It's just, yeah, it's not a good choice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Don't
really
you want to?
tough.
Don't you want to dine with a king or like one of Christ's apostles or something?
The only reason, okay, first of all, kings, fuck those douchebags. It would, so I'll entertain that second one. That would be purely, like researching. It would be like, all right, tell me what happened. Like, tell me, I want the actual account.
Oh, they nailed him to a cross, I'm afraid.
Right? Yeah. But the actual account, right? So like unfettered access to actual history, not just stuff documented or stories told like through time. That's a challenging thing. That's why I think the way that I do when it comes to who I would want to hang out with or speak to, because we live in an interesting time now where like the last 100 years of our existence is pretty much been video documented. So there's a lot of things that cannot be argued. They can be spun, right? Propaganda machine. They can be abused, but we've largely been chronicled, and it gets better over time. Like now, virtually every second, everything that we do is been recorded. So it's a lot more difficult to potentially challenge what like some historical record when there's video and audio evidence versus before that we've got a lot, hundreds of years of written documentation, and then really, really old manuscripts and things like that where we extrapolate what we can from it, and then people get on their imright.com horse and be like, well, this means this, absolutely, and you don't know. There's no way for us to know. We can guess, and the longer we go, like the more we learn into the future, maybe we'll like find some definitive answer. But I don't know. I think one of the things that's always annoyed me about science is the insinuation that it's absolutely correct when its entire history has been proving itself wrong.
Yeah, the literal scientific process.
It starts with, I think the process of scientific process starts with, I don't know. So how can you ever say that something is absolute when you begin a process with I don't know? It's great when you learn things like, yes, water is wet, the sky is blue, this mug is red, this tea is delicious, whatever. But yeah, those kinds of things I would be really interested in learning, like what actually happened, things that did actually happen. But the reason it would be really tough for me though is because I'm trying, it's not simply satisfying personal curiosity. That's a big one, but that's ego speaking. I would really put a lot of thought into, is there something that I could learn from one of these people that would impact me in such a way that I can propagate that message forward stronger and apply it to the now, right? So what kind of person was Lincoln really? Martin Luther King is probably a really great, or really great one.
It's interesting what you said about how everything's been documented for the last 100 years, and then if you go beyond that, there is documentation, but it's only really rich people who are documented. So when you said that, I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to just get like a Russian peasant from like the 15th century and just be like, hey, what do you have for dinner? What are your values? Those things aren't written down. I remember watching there was a really good YouTube channel, I forget what it's called, but this guy did like a day in the diet of people at various points in the feudal hierarchy, and it was really easy for him and these experts to say exactly what the nobility would have eaten, and they also knew what the middle merchant class would have eaten. And then when it got down to the peasant, it was like, right, we can only speculate here, but because there are literally no written sources about what peasants ate for breakfast and dinner, which I found really interesting because obviously they made up 99% of the populace at the time.
There's still other things, again, so ego talking, like all of the big names, you would really want to know who they actually were, what they were about. So Chris Columbus, the great discoverer, was he really? Or was he a douchebag they were trying to send off to his death and then was like, haha? People like Napoleon, Alexander the Great, um, you know, Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah. Vlad the Impaler. Don't know. I don't think I'd invite him to dinner.
Probably a
Too
bad
many
call.
knives and sticks in my house.
But like, you know, essentially, like people that historically are were labeled as conquerors, um, were they really, or did they have some big vision and it just ended up that way? Because they themselves, like, one person does not an army make, right? And when you charge people to go out into the world, and somehow I feel like I'm attacking English right now for colonization, but like, you know, you go out, but you, the person like making the decision, don't have any impact on what's happening on another body of land across a body of water. Like, you just don't. So what were their intentions really? What was their thought process? What were their goals? Were they trying to just help themselves? Were they utter douchebags, or were they looking forward towards what's best for humanity overall? Because those people actually exist. I know, at least in America, most people are whining and talking about the government's run by assholes, and they don't care about us, and it's, you know, more for the rich and less for us, and more taxes and more fees and all this other stuff. I get very confused at why people don't understand that they still actually have the control. They're just scaring you out of it and giving you very little option to choose from. But people can take the power back. The entire system is designed that way. And there are people out there, not just in the US, but there's people all over this world that are really trying to do great and positive things. So yeah, that's the thing that I would be looking to research most, to find out like what people's motivations were. Henry Ford is another one, actually. I mean, not that long ago, but the mindset that he had, what's his name, Andrew Carnegie as well. Interesting people to talk to. I'd love to be able to learn from them.
Well, we'd best go back to chat for some slightly less heavy questions. This one's a nice one. Is there any regular stream players that you think come across as underrated in terms of their performance on stream?
Underrated.
I mean, the problem with this question is the answer to it has to imply that you think somebody looks bad, but isn't as bad as they look. So you got to be careful what you say here, Steve.
Well, it's trying to translate everyone else's perspective, right? Because to me, I don't know, people think differently about streaming in and of itself. And largely, I think the big challenge, at least for me and for ECG, is the focus. People will come and find Clocktower content and be like, oh yay, let's digest more Clocktower content. Without conscious thought, there's a subconscious expectation that it's the same or similar. And I think we give the similar vibe because we are all about fun, respect, and chaos. We like that. It's we like it because it's fun, but it's also great content. So virtually every game we ever play ends up on YouTube. There's something really awful would have to happen for us not to publish a game, because I'm about transparency and let's show everybody who we are. So I think people will tend to think about someone being on stream like some sort of qualifier, like they have to be of a certain talent level, and you don't. At least not for ECG, because our goal is to cater to new people. We want people who see this game and come across this content to be like, oh my god, wow, that's so cool, like I want to do it. But right, whatever the apprehension is, and there's a lot, how do we empower that person and get them over that? So if I can show them new players on stream, that action, even though I haven't said anything, just that simple action is inspiring to some people, right? Which is really what I want my life to be. I want people to, I would love for everybody to know everything about me, simply because so many people's minds will go, wow, if he can do it, I can do it, right? There's no excuse anymore, which is really the super short version of my own path, right? I finally got to that point where I was like, well, shit, if you can do it, I can do it, so let's go. So that's the thing when it comes to stream, because I do believe that people have this sort of expectation on performance and why you play the way that you play. So I don't know if I'm answering this question correctly. I would just say that In my opinion, the answer is based on what I've witnessed. Most improved player would be the Lost. I just, in fact, just saw a game I think this past week where I think everybody expected a certain level of play, and it wasn't there anymore. Like he's certainly gotten better, but I think everybody has room for improvement. You know, you tend to settle in with whatever the thing is that you're good at. And good at might not necessarily be the game or game solving ability, right? Good at might just be this person's really great at lying. This person's really great at being chaotic. You know, like whatever that thing is. And once they find out, then it's like they'll sit in that, right? Until they either get bored or they get prodded out of that comfort zone.
Good answer. And I'm sure the Lost is delighted. In fact, the Lost has expressed their delight.
Well,
I have one lined up here.
Question.
I did have one line. Oh, here it is. Yeah. What's the best beer? What's your favorite beer?
Ooh, the best beer. Once a year, it's available. Sam Adams Oktoberfest.
Sam Adams does make some quite nice beers, actually. You don't get them very much over here, but when we do, they do like this Boston lager that's like a really dark lager, which is something you don't see very often. Yeah, good. That's a good choice. That's a solid choice.
I mean, they have a bunch of like decent flavors, but like I said, once a year, Oktoberfest comes out, and that's when I start drinking a lot of beer.
Yeah, I think the thing with beers is it's a bit like music in so much as the stuff that most people, the stuff that sells the highest and is consumed by the most people is generally like the worst stuff, yeah. And the stuff that's really good is followed by a very small but dedicated, passionate fan base who keep that stuff going. But yeah, it is what it is, I suppose.
I actually came across one here. I sent a picture to a friend of mine. I'll send it to you. I said, "This is how you know you're in Virginia," and it's a white can, and it says "regular beer."
I think that is actually a craft ale as well. I think I've seen that around.
I don't know.
Like it's some sort of pretentious New York craft brewery or something, and they've made an ale called regular beer. That's just I'm 99% certain that's what that is. Which is brilliant because I bet you've got loads of people who just want Bud Light and they're out buying regular beer. Get it home and it's like a passion fruit infused Vice beer or something. They don't know what's happened.
It's just hilarious. Like it's a white can with black block letters. It's just this regular beer, and then on the bottom there's this little catchphrase that says, "For when you want a beer that tastes like beer." And that's it. That's all it's on the can.
Amazing. This is a really good question, actually. How do you feel about experienced players in games with new players? And the questioner, Fearless Dave, has added, "I've run into some issues where the experienced gamers solve it and it leads to a somewhat rough intro."
So that's situational. I'll give you two different answers because I have two different experiences with it, right? So based on what I have witnessed firsthand creating ECG, I've never had an issue with that. I've been really proud of our experienced players. They treat new players with kid gloves. They actually help them with solves. They don't tell them like, you should do this or this means that. They're the kind of folks that will ask questions and say, well, you know, what did you learn? If you trust me enough to share, like, what did you learn? And they say, well, I got this. And then they say, well, here's how this mechanic works, right? And so it means this, unless there's a poisoner in the game, unless you're the drunk. Then and they just explain all the mechanics throughout the game to new players, whether they're on the same team or not. That's the most impressive thing. But I see that a lot because we have a new player night dedicated to that, right? And now it's getting so big that when I run new player nights, it's almost all new players, so we don't really see that very much anymore. But that's what I've seen in ECG. Outside of ECG, it's almost the dead opposite. I've seen I don't really want to say utter douchebaggery, but it kind of is. Like, there are people that they just get off on being the savant, and it extends so far as to lay this expectation on every other person playing the game that they are all on the same level. And they forget about the fun. They forget that people are learning how to play a game. They forget that they've never seen a script before. They forget that they don't know the characters. They don't understand the interactions. So I've seen a lot of that, and it's challenging, obviously, to say the least. It's a big challenge, and it's more of a personal thing. Now there are so many places to go and play this game. Everybody's got a place that will fit their playstyle, because I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I've never ever said that, in fact. It's like there's a place for people like that because that's how they enjoy playing, and they want to play with other people like that. So they need to have a place, right? We built what we built, focused on the new player, focused on the fun, positive experience. This is what we do and what we expect. If you're one of those folks, you don't fit here. But guess what? There's tons of places where you do. I'll even suggest them. Like, I'm never going to leave anybody hanging. So yeah, I've seen both sides of that coin.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never understand the desire to just absolutely wreck a newbie. Like, what are you actually getting out of that? Like, yeah, what is someone paying you per win or something? Like, what is incentivizing this behavior? Because all you've done is made the community slightly worse.
Right.
It's got one less person in it. I'll never understand that. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying with the whole kids glove thing, because yeah, I'm the same when I'm at conventions and I'm playing with new players, and I'll just be like, hey, so, here's what I know, but I could be lying to you, and do you want to tell me what you are, and try and work through it with them? Because I don't know if you're the same, but I can't enjoy being in a room doing a thing if I'm the only person enjoying it. Like, to the point where if there's some music on and I don't think other people are liking it, I'll switch over to something that I think they'll like, even if I don't like it, because I just feel awkward. Or, if we're watching something on the TV and I'm clearly the only person in the room who's enjoying it, that immediately stops me from being able to enjoy it.
Yep.
Because it feels awkward, and you don't want to be that one guy. And I don't understand how some people don't have that. I'm almost kind of jealous, I suppose, to a degree. It sounds nice to be able to enjoy that, I suppose.
It sounds wonderful to be a prick.
Just be completely shameless about it.
Nah, I think that we all have, like, if we have a strong aspect of who we are or how we act, like what makes us, like a strong personality aspect, you naturally cannot understand someone who doesn't have the same thing, because that's not you, right? I mean, it just is what it is. I actually had to tell a friend of mine a long time ago. I remember he was struggling. I won't give the details of his life, but it was really intense, and it was impacting his relationship. And some of the best. It's gonna sound terrible out of context, but some of the best advice that I had ever given was to that friend when I said, "Dude, you have to just embrace being a douchebag." And I know he wasn't expecting to hear it, and I was kind of expecting like this backlash, but you called me a douchebag. But I mean, the point was, you have been leading this life that you think everybody else expects of you, and you're miserable. What you need to do is just be you. And if they have a problem with it, that's their problem. And that's very difficult for a lot of people. Because there's like this obligation that you put on yourself, and like, but they're my in-laws, or they're my whatever, they're my spouse, whatever it is. But like, dude, you have to be the best version of you, period. It just doesn't matter. And if somebody doesn't like it, that's a them issue. You don't need to change to meet someone's expected response or to make somebody else happy. That's not your job. The only person responsible for your happiness is you, and you've got to make that like your chief priority. When you do, you present the best version of yourself, and then that attracts other people like you. And then suddenly, all the things that make you happy, like you're surrounding yourself with other people who like the same stuff. So, yeah.
It's sage advice.
Embrace your inner douche. Nah, just be you is all that really meant.
Okay, so I apologize to people in chat if we are not asking your questions. There's a lot of chat going on, and some of them are getting slightly buried. But I did see a good one recently. Go on, Steve.
Did you catch bunnies? I did want to answer that.
I did, yeah. So that's what we were about to do next.
Nice.
Are there any streamers that you wish you read,
You could read.
or any streamers you wish you could crack their playstyle? Oh, read. Oh, I see what you mean now. Yeah. So it's like
Yeah.
any streamers where you can sort of
You can
sense
read
what
them,
their
yeah.
strategy is and emulate it. Yeah.
Yeah, so excellent question, super easy answer. It's you, Bunny.
Wow. Did Bunny know that? Was she just hoping to get a shout out?
I don't think so. I mean, like, but so, like, all kidding aside, not blowing any smoke. Bunny's amazing, and I don't mean just as a player. Like, I know a lot of people know Bunny from seeing her on stream and seeing her on YouTube and all that stuff. Outside of that, like, Bunny is such a genuine, amazing person. Does so much stuff behind the scenes. Is such a wonderfully like creative input. And I think that was just an example of coming up with a really great, difficult question to ask. I think it's just funny that Bunny asked because legit, for me anyway, and I'm sure others, like Bunny's super hard to read. She just plays the same no matter what, and it's so hard. And also because I have a terrible track record. I had, for I would say about 5 games in a row, I chose I'm either going to trust Bunny or I'm not going to trust Bunny right at the beginning of the game. And every time I choose to trust her, I'm good, she's evil. and every time I choose not to trust her, I'm good, she's good. And we end up losing.
There you go. Flip the strategy. Choose whether or not to trust her, and then do the opposite.
I may try that. I gave someone that advice once about directions. They're like, oh, I always end up at the wrong place. And I said, all right, think about where you think you should go and always go the opposite direction. It worked for them 100% of the time.
But the question then is, at what point does them doing the opposite of what they think they should do actually become what they think they should do?
See, that's the overthinking.
And then should they switch it up?
Yeah, no, you can't overthink. It's just like I feel like this is what I should do. Okay, then go the other way.
I've got a good one here. If you could have any member of the Nerol's Bard crew as a regular player on stream, who would you choose?
Oh, that's tough. A regular player.
Just sneezing over here. Don't mind me.
I think it's the one that we've already had. I think about it in this perspective. It's not so. Again, I had to take a moment and kick ego to the side of like, who would I want to see? Because now I see everybody else's chat answers coming in. I knew Sully would be the first thing that people would want me to say. I love the answer, Laurie, just to make him suffer. That's hilarious. Although, Laurie, if you ever see this, I don't want to make you suffer. But no, I would think about it from the perspective of who do I think would most like seamlessly integrate with the people that we have. And I think it's Isaac. Not just because we've had Isaac, but like we've had Isaac, I think, on 4 games. And it's great. I mean, I love him. I think he likes playing. I just think, obviously him being UK and now having a much busier schedule is challenging for him to be able to play. But absolutely loved having Isaac on. Would love to have Isaac back. It's always great to have you. It's always great. It was really great when we had the opportunity to play with Carly. I got to run a game and then play in a game against Carly. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, somebody mentioned John Gracie. That's the thing. So my big dream, I'm going to take this moment to jump on a quick soapbox and tell you my dream. My big dream, hopefully that will make it to the ears of the NRB crew one day, is I would love to take like our core and their core and like split and say, okay, these people are going to put in one game and these people we're going to put in another game. So it's going to be like a 50-50 ECG NRB kind of thing. They run a game, we'll run a game, we'll cross-pollinate. Like I see something really huge happening with that. We've had people clamoring on it on our YouTube channel for quite some time. They want to see ECG and NRB playing together. I would love it. I think it'd be a whole lot of fun for all of them. I would love to have Tom, actually. I only hesitate because Tom's got this great reputation for his ability to deliver now. So he's like co-STing a lot or just STing. And so his intros are absolutely epic. I don't know that I'll ever be able to top what he does there. They're so wonderful. And his outros, actually, I mean, they're really great.
Yeah.
And I
It's
just
the voice.
Yeah,
He's got
exactly.
the voice.
He's got it. I mean, he's just made for it. He's perfect. But I mean, I've seen him play in some games, and I think it would be fun to play with Tom as well.
Here's a good one from Just Jack. Do you find there are benefits to playing online versus in-person games, or perhaps the other way around?
100%. There's a whole pro con situation. I think it's a lot different feel. It's probably less if you have regulars. Like if I were to take, say, our ECG Twitchers and bring them all together in person, I don't know that it would vary that much because those people play together all the time. In person, my in-person experience is raw. Like it's always new folks. I don't have a collage of experienced people around, so it's always going to be just new players, and that in and of itself, it kind of takes the mechanics out of the advanced player really understanding interactions of all the roles. That's just gone. So it's almost virtually 100% social deduction at that point, because everybody's like, oh, I didn't know this, or I didn't understand that. I mean, whether you didn't or whether you're lying about it, it's the same story for lots of new players. Online, I think that we have created a deliberate cadence, and I see it's fairly common anyway. I just harp on this when it comes to new player nights, because we play online. I just point out the differences, like the technology. So an important thing to understand is that we're here to have fun and respect everybody. And there's this process of the game that very commonly and very quickly gets out of hand and turns into a shouting match, or people get very quiet just because they feel like they are being ignored or they've been talked over. And the important thing to understand is technology, the aspect of the technology. Some people's voices are just naturally really loud. Some people's is naturally really soft. Some people's microphones gains are really high, and some of them are really low. So naturally, when someone speaks, to them, they might be like, well, I'm speaking loud on purpose, but your microphone maybe sucks, or maybe it's just the gain is down or something like that, whatever it is. So there's all these little nuances about whether or not one can be heard. And so to mitigate that, in the name of respecting one another, we just set the tone, especially with new player nights. I announce it every single time. This is the way we run a nomination phase. And that, I think, is kind of unique to online play, because we're when someone nominates, essentially the message is when I speak, listen. When someone nominates, I'll say so-and-so nominated so-and-so. Please tell us why. That means everybody shut the fuck up so this person can say what they have to say. Once they're done speaking, people can ask if they can add pertinent info, whatever. I'm fine with inviting some banter there until I say, okay, so-and-so, your defense. That means shut up again, because this person needs to be allowed to defend themselves. Interrupting either one is just rude. I mean, it essentially, subconsciously, it tells that person, I don't care what you have to say. What you have to say is not important, and what I have to say is more important than you. Even though that's not the words that they're using, that's the subconscious impact that it has. So that's why we run the cadence that we do at ECG, and what the difference is between running online versus in person, right? In person, it's not as delicate because you have physiology, and physiology is 55% of the way that we communicate. So it's a lot easier in person, I find anyway, to get a message across or to manage people than it is online.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with everything you just said, to be honest. One thing that we're working on with the app is there's going to be, well, we don't know if we're going to have it or not yet, because it will have an effect on the way people play if we put it out there. But we've been playing around with a kind of give a player the microphone thing on it, where essentially you can say if I say I nominate Steve, the storyteller can then make my voice louder than everyone else's, and everyone else's quieter while I speak, and then he can push the mic over to you and it makes you loud and everyone else quiet, and then remove it so that everyone can chat, and it just kind of sort of it enforces what you've just described you're doing. Basically, it makes it impossible. Other people can still butt in if they really need to, but it means at the very least that everybody will definitely hear the person who is currently defending themselves, even if other people are trying to talk over them.
Yeah, It's thanks, Hungry. The chat just said always nominate Steve. Yeah. I hope, Hungry, when you nominate me, I'm the virgin.
Well, here's a good question for you, Steve. If you had, let's say, 3 months free wet rental on one of those highway billboards, what message would you put on it?
Fuck you.
Yeah, just everybody who wants past. Just a big middle finger. It's you doing this.
Let's see. What message? Dang it, that would require a lot of thought. I would want it to be along the lines of like have the feel of a you can do it. Like it wouldn't be that simple, just you can do it, even though that's enough. But it would be a phrase that essentially would be something psychologically and subconsciously thought-provoking that hopefully made you believe in yourself. Made you believe that you could take that action that you were afraid to take. Whatever it might be. Move to that other state, take that new job, quit that shitty job, whatever the thing is. Pick up an instrument, change your diet, lose weight, exercise, whatever that thing is, right? Whatever the message actually was, it would be crafted specifically to infiltrate your brain and try to reprogram you with the core message of, yeah, actually you can do it.
Wow, that was incredibly wholesome until that bit about infiltration and reprogramming. And it got a little dark, yeah.
I've got a bunch of Winter Soldiers all over the world. No, I mean, that's what NLP is like. So, I mean, there's a way to speak and interact with people. NLP, for anybody who doesn't know, is neuro-linguistic programming. And we've been doing it, like mankind has been doing it forever. It's just never been really formulated into, like, studied as a specific practice. And that was one of the things that I did on my own personal development journey, was become a certified NLP practitioner. And so I understand these kinds of things. And you're right, like, it wasn't, I mean, I said it kind of jokingly, and it wasn't meant to be dark, but it could be used for a nefarious purpose. I'm just not that guy. So and fortunately most folks who do learn it are all on that same sort of track or journey of, how do I help people? How do I convince people that yes, you can? Because think about it, the most successful people in the world, they did not take the path that you've been programmed to believe that you have to take. Everyone, like the general masses believe, especially, I'll just talk about the US, right? In the US, you have to go to school, you have to go to college, you have to get a job, spend 40 years paying off your school loan for a mediocre shit job that you fucking hate, and roll the dice on whether or not your retirement's going to evaporate before you can get to it. That outlook sucks ass. But for some reason, everyone is programmed to believe that's what I must do. Because when you talk about doing anything else, no, can't do that. You got to get a job. I did that for over 20 years. Didn't like it. I found myself much happier, having a much bigger impact on other people and helping them grow. It starts with getting outside of your comfort zone, but helping other people grow in ways that they start figuring out that what's the thing that I was meant to do, right? What's going to make me happy? How do I make me happy? And it doesn't have to be that way. And largely for a lot of people, it's not. Name any really, really successful person. I bet you almost every single one of them doesn't have a degree unless it was gifted to them by some school who wanted to hear their own name when be associated with said person. But yeah, that's really where that comes from.
Oh, well, here's a more Clocktower related question for you, Steve.
Right.
Are there any particularly unusual or rare character interactions that you'd like to see that you haven't seen yet?
That I would like to see. Actually, I'm kind of the opposite there. I really don't like jinxes. Some of the jinx rules I don't agree with because they don't make sense to me, but I'm just a guy.
Oh, wow. Well, you can't just leave that dangling. Well, give us some examples.
Give me a jinx list. It doesn't matter what you talk about. There's probably something quick. No, because I think it's the shadow of my logic mind that, and I say that because, pre me shifting who I am, it was 21 years as a network architect. I mean, literally, like, my job is logic bomb every day. So with Clocktower, it's very natural for me to start, okay, here's the order of events. Like, this is the sequence of things. And I remember the first thing that I found a little annoying was the barber. First, there was a little bit of lack of clarity, but then it was like there was so much of the community that just decided all on their own that the moment the barber goes down, the first thing you do is go tell the demon and let them make their choice. Logically, that's not correct according to the sequence of events in the Night Order.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know anyone who does that.
Well, I mean, for me in the beginning when I started this, like, and even when I remember when we first launched our channel, the first few times that we had barber interactions, there was a lot of feedback to that effect, essentially calling me out on it. And I was like, there's no rule that says that's how it works. Like, that's just how you did it. But, okay, back to the question, what I would like to see. The thing I wanted to see the most, I've seen, though. I can't, I'm trying
Well,
to
how
think.
about we switch it to what's one of those instances where you saw something truly ridiculous that you'll never see again?
Oh, I think the people who are here now know what's coming. So we had I'll leave names out. You guys can shout the names out. So we had a psychopath, day one, kill the Tinker. Yep, you know where I'm going, chat. That night, the preacher chose the psychopath. And I informed the psychopath that they were at a captivating sermon. Then the innkeeper protected the preacher and someone else. So I decided to make the preacher drunk because the psychopath believed that they were at a sermon. And then the next day went on this dissertation of how cruel a storyteller I was because they weren't actually the psychopath. They killed the Tinker, and I killed the Tinker just to make everybody think that they were the psychopath, so that they were going to prove that they weren't the psychopath because they were convinced that they had been preached to, and then killed the fortune teller. And the best moment, like, when that happened, was the reaction of not only, like, the entire player base in the Grim, but the person who was the preacher just busted out laughing.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
It was so great. And then, of course,
that's a good answer.
The next night, the preacher chose them again, probably just not understanding like what happened and wanted to make sure that they got him. And then, of course, on day 3, claimed psychopath again and failed. That was a lot of fun. But yeah,
wow, I think that might be my favorite interaction now as well, actually. That's pretty good.
It was great. We've had some really good psychopath interactions, especially in the chat is mentioning Kaboom games. We've had a lot of fun with that.
What to ask now? I'm looking at a list of good questions to ask during an interview because I'm out of ideas. And some of them are terrible. Terrible questions. Oh, actually, here's what I wanted to ask earlier on. This is a good one. What would be a good question to ask you about you that nobody ever seems to ask?
Ooh. I don't know. All right, what's a good question to ask me about me that nobody asks? Man, that's tough. I would say, not that we have time for it, but I would say the details of my personal development journey, solely because it's a long tell, but it's an inspiring story that I believe that the people that heard that would do something to change their life. If they could, I think that the most challenging thing now, it's really ironic. So when I was stuck in life, I came across this influencer, my eventual mentor, on YouTube. And I remember in the very beginning for me being told that my path was public speaking, and me being like, are you fucking crazy? Like, there's no way. There's just no way. I would listen to his story, and he would talk about being an introvert, which I wasn't, but I couldn't see him, in that capacity. Being an introvert, never speaking up in school, never doing well in school, dropping out at like 14, working in like, cooking bands and things like that, trying to get by, just trying to figure out life, and eventually going on this, this path of becoming a public speaker, and that was clearly what had drawn me in. And I remember thinking, no, like this guy, he's so good that naturally there's got to be something there to play with, right? You weren't just sand that we figured out how to turn into clay. Like you were putty, like you had something. And now after going through the journey myself, I believe it. But I understand the perspective. Like, I would imagine a lot of people would see me the same way, where when they see me, whether it's, hey, this guy's always positive, or this guy's always fun, or this guy, whatever it is, like, oh, he's got a good presence, they think that that's just who I am. If people could understand who I was before that, that's the thing I think they would find most inspiring, because that's truly, like, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I mean, the dead opposite of the guy that you see right now. I was never able to speak without, like, mouth going dry, throat closing up, face turning red, sweating, arms, legs, my ass, my stomach started doing hula hoops around my ass. I would feel physically ill. I'd have to go to the bathroom. Like, all these things all at once would come thundering in. I would shake. Like, it was terrible. And now it's just like, I don't know. It's like being on the phone with an old friend. It's like I can talk to anybody about anything. I can talk to a million people. I can talk one-on-one. It doesn't matter. It's the greatest skill in the world, and I that's the thing I think that no one ever knows to ask or thinks to ask, but I think would be the best tale I could tell to benefit the person asking, to really help impact them and change their life.
Could you ever see yourself writing a book about any of this, or perhaps, some sort of publishing or publication?
Yes, actually, I did just start writing, not consistently, but from a therapeutic perspective, I needed an outlet. So, again, at the time of this recording, my father recently passed, and it's been a really, really tough go for me. I've been in another state, taking care of his estate. I've been disconnected from the community, largely, who's been wonderfully supportive, but it's a lot to go through, on your own. It's a lot to process, and there was a lot of really good advice that I got on things to do from people that I know and trust, and some folks actually made themselves available in the ECG community that I've had conversations with. Just like, what was it like for you? I don't expect anybody to give me any answers, to how to get through this and all that. But it helped me kind of frame up what do I need to do? Like, what nugget resonates with me to help me get through this? And it ended up being writing. And so first the idea was, okay, I need something therapeutic because I don't have like a group to talk to or anything like that, or a certified personnel, grief counselor or anything like that. So the idea was to start writing, essentially just like a diary. But when I started, it just came out like a book. In fact, I could read you an excerpt from it if you like.
Go on then, Steve. Let's, this is the first marketing for Steve's upcoming novella.
Trademark. My working title for this is My Fucked Up Thoughts by Scuba Steve. So I opened up with, I thought that might get your attention. My father died 8 days ago, and it is my hope and my intention to capture my thoughts and feelings on a day-to-day basis so that both I and you Yes, you, the potential finder and reading of this book, might benefit from it. It is my sole intention to be completely raw and honest, however, knowing that someone might read this, even after I die, probably create some sort of natural, even subconscious, filtration. So let's begin! But only enter if you dare. Today is May 1st, 2023. Not sure how relevant that is, but I thought that I should tell you. I'm just past the halfway mark of my 47th year of life, and it's been an interesting life so far. I set the intention for this to be an amazing and successful year. The reason for it, you may find laughable. It's because I'm 47. I'm a fan of the Hitman game series, whose main character is codenamed 47. Like I said, you might find it silly, but in my 47 years of experience, silly can be the best and most fun reason to do anything in life. This decision comes after a few days of studying and learning about energy. Not the type of energy you're probably thinking about. I'm talking about energy in its raw, theoretical, and literal, tangible forms. The fact that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. The fact that our brains are sending and receiving stations for communication. The fact that thoughts are things. There's a whole lot more here, but I'll stop there.
Well, what I've learned about you from that and from this stream, Steve, is your mention of Hitman, infiltration, and your desire to be an assassin. Oh yeah, that was I actually used to write for a living prior to doing what I do now, and that was very well written, Steve. I thought.
Thank you.
It does grab your attention, and you come across as someone who's very personable. I think if most human beings were like told, "Hey, you need to write a book about what you're experiencing right now," I think a lot of them would think, "Well, should I say the date? Should I address the fact that someone might be reading this in 100 years?" The fact that you did those things immediately, I think, puts the reader at ease.
It's training, right? That is not something that just comes natural to me or came natural to me. That was something that I learned through training, and all of it around public speaking. Something like learning YouTube algorithms, that's specifically in depth. But learning how to speak to no one on a camera, like literally just here in the room, turn my phone on, start recording myself, and talk to it, and deliver a message in such a way that is going to grab attention and keep your attention, retain you for however long that I need to say whatever I have to say with a valuable message that's going to make you feel better. Like, that's the game in a nutshell. Doesn't matter whether I'm talking to a camera, doesn't matter if I'm live on stream, doesn't matter if it's going to be Twitch, doesn't matter if it's going to be YouTube, doesn't matter if it's going to be in a book. Right? The template is the same. Talking to people and being raw and being true and being honest and being whoever you are. I think the thing that most people really probably kind of stumble on is that, all right, I have to find a way to do this thing that everybody will like. Guess what? Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody gives a fuck. In fact, most people don't care. You've got to be the best version of you, and that people who are like you will resonate with what it is that you have to say and what you have to offer. It's not your goal to crusade and save the world, right? Finding like-minded people and helping them elevate. To me, that's everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if there's one thing I've learned from becoming Mr. Clocktower over the last few years
Yes,
there are a bunch of people out there who not only won't like you, but they will actively go out of their way to find fault with anything and everything you do, and you've just got to be at peace with that. And that was a really hard thing for me to come to terms with, because I'm like a Labrador. I just want to be friends with everybody. And when somebody is like, "I don't want to be your friend, I don't like you," I couldn't understand that at first, because like, what have I done wrong? What is it that I did? And after a while, like, you go through the process of like, well, was it this or was it that? Should I change this? And once you've crossed all of those out, all that's left is, this person's an asshole. That's the only explanation left.
Yep.
But you've got to be careful with that, though, because then the danger with that is you're then going to see someone giving you what is actually genuine criticism, take it the wrong way and be like, well, this person's an asshole. And actually, they're not. And you've got to learn to tell the difference between those two things. Otherwise, you become the asshole.
Yeah, I try. So my goal is somewhere in between that, which is if I get, someone serving me up some haterade or just or just
I've heard that before. That's good. You should put that in your book, Steve.
I try to see everything. Like if it feels really bad, I have the awareness to go, oh, emotional charge. Don't respond. Don't say anything. Discharge that. Go back and read it. Purposefully positive. Like try to sound like whatever I'm reading is coming across very, very friendly. And if it still doesn't feel friendly to me, okay, I'm gonna go back to a little bit of energy, right? What you focus on expands. So it's kind of like this. There's an example that we used to give, like metaphorically, because a lot of people can identify this. If you're walking down the street, say with a group of your friends, right, and then suddenly someone behind you goes, "Hey, stupid!" Are you the one who turns around and be like, "What? Fuck you! What are you calling me stupid for?" Like, you don't even know if they're talking to you. Right? So the problem's actually you, not them. And so I take that, like when I see some kind of criticism, I try to think from that frame of mind. But you're right. Sometimes people are just deliberately being dicks. I mean, fortunately I haven't had to like delete a lot of comments from YouTube and stuff, but we had a couple of trolls that would just shit on some of the players, and I'm not having that. I mean, I can't. Now we're getting to that point, and with having enough going on in life, I can't every single moment of the day be monitoring YouTube. But fortunately, again, the community is so great that if something does come up and I don't see it, they'll say something to me. Hey, this person said this thing about this player. I'm like, no, delete. Like, that's just not okay. And other times, I've actually reached out to people that people were commenting about to make sure that they were okay. They say, hey, look, I know like this isn't normal. Like for regular people, this could be really new and you could be taking it really hard. So I'm here for you. Like, if you have any issues and you're comfortable talking and sharing with me, like, I'm here. And you are the one who gets to decide whether you want to leave this or whether you want me to delete it. Which I think is a little bit unique. I'm kind of, I mean, without any ego, I'm proud of that. Like, I'm proud that to be able to provide that kind of space.
Yeah, it's a good response to have that, because I mean, I think if there's one thing we can all probably agree on, if somebody is just lashing out randomly at strangers on the internet, they're not happy. Yeah. They're not a happy human being. Exactly. Happy people don't do that. Mm-hmm. Happy people don't need to do things like that because they're too happy to be wasting their time doing that. So yeah, that is the right response to have. But I don't think everybody's capable of helping someone in that situation, right? There's a million of us out there who are just barely clinging on for dear life as it is, right. And to lift one finger from that bar and give it to somebody else would guarantee you get sucked out of the. I don't know why this has turned into like an airplane / spaceship metaphor, but we'll just go with it.
But it works. No, you're right. I mean, that's the thing too. I don't want to. I certainly don't want to insinuate that like everybody must have the same goal. Like everybody must see things the way that I see them. The world would never work that way, right? And like you just said, it's not necessarily your job to elevate everybody or even anybody, right? The thing about life is like you can, in my opinion, the proper way to be or observe is you look left and right for inspiration and motivation, but your path is your own. You cannot walk someone else's path and they cannot walk yours. So no matter how bad I wanted to be my mentor and have the results that they had the way that they had them, it took me time to figure out that my path is different. I can get the same result, but my path is going to be unique to me. I never saw this happening. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Well, I think we're gonna have one more question, and it's gonna be a question from chat, and I think it's a really good one to finish on.
Okay.
And then I've got to go and prepare for the Pandemonium Institute stream in 30 minutes. But Steve, only you can really answer this. No one else has the right to. What ability would a scuba diver have in Blood on the Clocktower?
What ability would a diver have in Clocktower? Let's see.
Steve's going to be like, I could answer this, but I'm not. But it would be rude.
I think that it would be something similar to, it would be a discovery of a role. I think it would be discovery of a specific role, but it would probably have to be time based to make it thematic because the scuba diver would run out of air. I kind of like that idea because you would be it would almost be like a one-person spy or a reverse Raven Keeper kind of thing. But there's got to be a mechanic to not just make it like, oh, point to somebody and learn what they are. That's too easy.
Yeah, it'd have to be a game of chicken type character. You know, somewhat akin to like the fisherman, where the longer you leave it, the better it is. To simulate the, you know, the deeper you dive, the better the treasure. But if you go too far, you'll drown.
Yeah, well, to that end, I liken it to the harlot, right? So, like, maybe you take somebody diving and learn who they are, but you both might die. Or that person might die. You're like, one of you runs out of air. Like, who knows?
Yeah. Wow, yeah, that would make it a very good evil bounty hunter townsfolk as well. Do you want to come diving with me? I'll learn what you are. And then just leave them there at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, that's a good one, actually. Maybe it's voluntary or maybe it's involuntary. Once per game, you take someone diving, learn who they are, and decide whether to let them die.
Whether to let them die. Why would you ever choose yes?
What if you learned they were the poisoner? I don't know.
Oh, that's actually really good. Each night, select a player, and you learn something about them, but if they're evil, you die instead.
Ooh.
Put it on a script with a load of other reasons why people might die in the night, and all of a sudden you've got a really interesting character right there.
There you go. You heard it here first.
There you go. Yeah, and the app's got homebrew support, so let's get it in there. Let's get. I reckon within 30 minutes of this stream ending, somebody could have knocked together a Scuba Steve icon for Blood on the Clocktower.
I would be flattered. I'd have to change my Discord icon.
It could just be each night select a player. If they are evil, you die. Easy peasy. That's a good ability right there. I'd be proud to have that on a script. Wow, look at this. I've asked you what the ability would be, and then I've just fucking dominated all the answers. I like, what a narcissistic bastard I am.
Hey, I will always defer to the face and the voice of the Pandemonium Institute. In fact, I think it was the last chat that I had. I got a message recently saying they were like, "Oh my gosh, Steve, the second best storyteller." That's one of those moments you're like, is somebody being a dick? Are they being genuine? Like, where's that coming from? But I was like, oh, wait a second. Like, in all honesty, like, just like, I was like, wow, thank you. Like, that means a lot because there's a lot of great storytellers. Like, I appreciate it. And then it was because Ben is the best. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll definitely take second place then.
I am not the best storyteller, and I'm not just saying this to be like, I'm not just saying this to be, oh God, I've forgotten what the word is now, humble. I'm not just trying to be humble. I genuinely am not that good. Like, I could tell you a whole bunch of people in England who are better storytellers than me. I make loads of mistakes and make the wrong decision all the time. But I think that's important to have in somebody who's showing you the ropes. Someone who is going to make mistakes. Because seeing somebody make mistakes, I think it makes it easier to get into. If you watch someone who's just perfect all the time and does everything right, the moment you screw up, you're gonna feel you're gonna feel bad. Yeah. But if you've watched a guy who's been doing it for years and he's making the same mistakes you are, I think that can be quite uplifting. So what I'm saying is I'm glad that I'm terrible at Blood on the Clocktower. And no one can make me feel bad by telling me it, so don't even try.
Well, you're not bad at it, no matter what you think. But no, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and that's part of the reason also why virtually every game that we ever play always eventually at some point in time is going to make it out there on YouTube until we just have too much content and we got to figure out another solution. But yeah, there's a good handful of games. Like, I'm glad that I don't make many mistakes, but I do make mistakes. Or like as new characters come out or something that I haven't seen in a long time or played with maybe ever, I might misinterpret something and get called out on it. Sometimes I get called out on things and I'm right. And then you've got to find an eloquent way to say, well, no, this is my understanding and this is the way I'm playing it. But and the same thing, on purpose, if I make mistakes in games, I put it out there because I think you're spot on with that. It's definitely going to inspire more people. Like, it's very intimidating to see somebody like Ed, who never makes mistakes.
Yeah, and he never makes mistakes. I don't think I've ever seen him make a
That's
mistake.
amazing.
Yeah. Galaxy brain.
Right, exactly. That's the best way to describe him, too. He's definitely got a galaxy brain. But yeah, you know, if people can see that, like, for the folks who resonate with me and the folks that resonate with you, or even both of us, right, that they watch someone. And I think inevitably, if you want to begin storytelling or whatever, you're going to gravitate towards someone that you resonate with. And so if they see you making mistakes, more importantly, if they see how you deal with the mistakes, right? Because if I make a big blunder, like I tell Chad about it. I don't go and tell the players. And unless I cannot recover it, which I don't think we have any of those. I think we've got games where I've made errors, but I've explained, like, okay, we're going to do this. And this is the reason why. And as long as this doesn't happen, we'll be okay. And thank God this doesn't happen. Otherwise, I would have had to end the game. Those kinds of things. So you just, it's more, I think it's less about making the mistake and showing people that you've made the mistake versus making the mistake and teaching people it's okay. And if you do, see if there's a way out of it. Don't freak out and be like, oh my God, I have to re-rack. Like, no. Take a step back, breathe for a moment, and just think through it and go, well, is there a way that I can actually fix this? Because another thing that I actually learned from you was going out of order on purpose, just to keep people thinking, right? And that's bit me a couple of times because I went out of order and I was like, oh, dang it. If this person does this, then I've screwed up. So then you go and you're like, please don't do it, please don't do it, please don't do it. You're like, oh, thank God. Okay. And then you go back to, all right, we're going night order, top to bottom from this point forward. But yeah, it's just another one of those examples of be true to you, be the best you. Don't be afraid. Like, everybody's human. We're all fallible. We all make mistakes. We all have emotions. We all have bad days. It's what makes us, I think, relatable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a wonderful tone to end this little fireside chat on.
All right. Well, I will end it by saying thanks so much, Ben, for showing up. It's always a blast, whether we are just shooting the shit or playing in a game. I did see somebody ask about when you're going to be playing, Ben. We'll let that hang out there in the ether. And until I get more requests either to be on here or from you guys who you might want to see me interview, please hit me up on Discord, comment on this on YouTube, and we will find a way to make it happen. Until next time. Bye for now, everybody.
Until next time.